3 months ago, I thought I was saving for our retirement. Turns out, I was funding a cheating husband and his sweetheart living right across the fence. The bakery box on our porch had gold foil lettering that read J&L Bakes. I had never baked a single thing, and my name doesn't start with L. My jaw locked so tightly I couldn't even say his name. It felt like I had been erased from the guest list of my own life. If the person stealing from you kisses you goodnight, would you even know? Her name was Martha Klein. 65 years old. Retired elementary school librarian from Syracuse, New York. She had soft hands from decades of flipping pages, not chopping wood. 5 years earlier, she had left her job to care for her aging mother. When her mother passed away, Martha didn't return to books. Instead, she took a quiet job cleaning a medical clinic each evening, 5 days a week. Her husband, Joel Klein, was a former postal inspector, sharp-minded once, now often drifting between half-finished hobbies and vague projects. He had taken early retirement, though no one ever asked why. They lived in the same red-brick colonial house for 37 years. It was once filled with the scent of old books, boiled potatoes, and distant dreams of Florida winters. Across the street lived Lana, a woman in her late 40s with dyed blonde hair and a cheerful voice. She had once worked as a nurse but now talked about cinnamon rolls and cream puffs. Her daughter had just left for college. Lana stayed behind, reinventing herself, as she called it. Martha and Joel had a joint savings account, along with a few long-term investment stocks. Their plan had been simple: use the money to coast gently through retirement. Joel liked to say he was watching the markets, though he rarely spoke of specific trades. Recently, Joel had been out of the house more often. Martha, working evenings, didn't keep track. He claimed he was attending investment seminars, reconnecting with old colleagues, or looking into some sort of equipment purchase. Meanwhile, Lana had been renovating a small property 2 blocks away. She called it her passion project. No one quite knew where her funding came from. She joked once that it fell from the sky. There were small signs. At first, Joel brought home sample pastries, mini tarts, tiny cheesecakes with no clear origin. When asked, he mumbled about a food fair. Once, Martha noticed a faint burn mark on his wrist. He said it was from a friend's grill. Another time, she passed by his computer and noticed how quickly the screen went black. The man who once forgot his email password now guarded his laptop like a banker with gold bars. Then came the night everything shattered. Martha felt a wave of dizziness at the clinic. A dull ache pulsed behind her eyes. She asked to leave early and started home just before sunset. As she neared her block, she passed Lana's new bakery. It had opened just a week earlier. She thought she'd pick up something sweet for dinner. The door was unlocked, the lights inside warm and golden, but no one stood behind the counter. "Hello," she called out, softly. No answer. She stepped further in, past rows of delicate cupcakes and shelves of unopened packaging. Then she heard a low giggle, followed by a voice she hadn't heard in that tone for years. Martha walked toward the back, each step heavy. And there, behind the kitchen arch, she stopped breathing. Joel was holding Lana. His hand rested on her waist. His lips brushed the curve of her neck. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was intimacy that had been built, nurtured, and lived in. She screamed, a raw, feral sound that seemed to shake the pans hanging on the wall. She grabbed a tray and flung it. Cupcakes flew across the floor. She shouted words she didn't know she still remembered. Her hands trembled. Her eyes burned. She couldn't see, but she knew she was crying. And then she left. Out the door, across the street, up her neighbor's steps. She didn't go home. She stayed with her oldest friend, slept on a couch with a quilt that smelled like lavender detergent, and stared at the ceiling all night. The next morning, she made a call to a lawyer. He was methodical, calm, listened more than he spoke. Within an hour, he printed a ledger. It showed a decade of financial history, laid bare in black and white. Their savings had dropped by nearly half. Joel arrived at the meeting late. When pressed, he offered vague explanations: market shifts, short-term investments. But the lawyer pushed harder. Dates, amounts, recipients. Finally, Joel admitted it. He had wired over $70,000 into Lana's bakery. On top of that, he had sent her monthly stipends, covered her rent, paid for her daughter's school fees, and bought countless gifts. For 3 years. Martha said nothing. Her breath grew shallow. Her fingers tightened around the fabric of her coat. She felt herself sink. The room faded. The numbers blurred. The voices became muffled. She didn't faint. She simply collapsed inward, as if her bones had forgotten how to hold up her heart. Tears came, not like rain, like floodwaters finding the lowest point. She laid her head on the lawyer's desk. And for the first time in 37 years of marriage, she truly let herself fall apart. That day, she didn't just discover a cheating husband. She uncovered elder financial abuse, and a betrayal so precise, so domestic, that it rewrote every room of her home. Every pie cooling on Lana's windowsill now smelled like something stolen. The biggest mistake I made wasn't trusting my husband. It was believing I didn't have the right to ask questions about our money. I thought love and equal effort would be enough. But in marriage and in the eyes of the law, agreement without transparency is not protection. I believed in teamwork. What I needed was shared authority. Joel violated more than trust. He used marital savings to build a life with someone else without consent, without disclosure, and without shame. That was not just emotional betrayal. It was a direct breach of our financial union. But I had let it happen slowly. I hadn't checked the statements. I hadn't questioned the passwords. I hadn't insisted on being present in the decisions that shaped our future. So I acted. The first step was empowering a financial attorney to audit every transaction from the past 5 years. We reviewed savings withdrawals, stock liquidations, and transfers Joel made under family support and tuition aid. 17 significant payments had no accompanying documentation, no contracts, no receipts, no transparency. Next, I filed for divorce, what the courts sometimes call a grey divorce, a late-life separation that demands deep legal clarity. We petitioned under equitable distribution law, arguing that Joel's actions constituted marital waste. Every dollar he had funneled into Lana's bakery, every gift, every wire transfer, those weren't his alone to spend. They came from a joint account, and they deserved joint scrutiny. My attorney gathered every shred of evidence: bank statements with highlighted anomalies, screenshots of emails that hinted at partnership expenses, photographs showing Joel helping Lana set up her storefront. None of it screamed guilt on its own. But together, it formed a map of calculated misuse. We submitted the case, requesting 3 specific outcomes: recognition of financial abuse within the marriage, restitution for dissipated marital assets, and a temporary freeze on remaining investment accounts until the court could rule fairly. The court responded. Joel was ordered to compensate me for a majority of the wasted funds, an amount calculated by subtracting personal expenditures from the total missing assets. The bakery, though not legally his, had been built with our money. That made it subject to valuation. I was entitled to a financial equivalent in the division. More than that, the judge noted Joel's behavior as material misconduct, a term that placed him in a less favorable position in the final settlement. I didn't recover every cent, but I reclaimed something else: justice, agency, and my name on my own future. This wasn't just a cheating husband story. It was a family betrayal story played out in bank records and quiet withdrawals. And I wasn't just a woman left behind. I was a woman who walked back in with evidence in hand and dignity intact. I left the red brick house behind, the one that held our wedding pictures and our holiday dinners, our quiet evenings and his lies. I moved to the outskirts of Albany, into a small 2-bedroom apartment near where my daughter works. The ceilings are lower, the neighbors are quieter, and every corner is mine. Each morning, I make coffee and water my orchids. I let Chopin play softly through the speakers while the sun warms the windows. Nobody spends my money now. Nobody feeds me lies with my breakfast toast. I signed up for a baking class at the local community center. It was something I had always wanted to do but never found time or courage for. Not because I dreamed of opening a bakery. No, I just needed to understand how a pie could carry so much deception, how sugar could mask something so bitter. A week after my first class, I brought a tray of my homemade lemon bars to a nearby nursing home. I didn't go to impress anyone. I went to share with women who, like me, had once sat across from a man who smiled while emptying the very jar they built together. I watched their faces light up, not just at the taste, but at the gesture, at the simple warmth of something given freely. That day, I didn't feel betrayed. I felt returned to myself. And Joel, he sold his car to pay legal fees. J&L Bakes hung a for sale sign just 8 weeks after its opening. I heard Lana left town. I don't ask. I don't look it up. I'm busy living the part of my life that still belongs to me. I once let someone steal what I built, dollar by dollar. Now I am learning how to build again with my own hands. Tonight, I want you to do one small thing for yourself. Open your banking app. Check every account that has your name on it, and especially the ones you share with someone else. Request a statement. Ask about anything that seems unclear. Print a copy. Send it to someone you trust. Talk to your son, your sister, your neighbor, or talk to a lawyer. But whatever you do, do not stay silent. Love is not a license to look away. Money is not just paper. It is time, trust, and survival. And if you've lived through something like this, leave a comment, share it. Not because you should feel shame, but because none of us should carry the silence alone. Here, we speak. Here, we remember. And here, we rebuild.